There was a quick video I want to get to, and then I want to get to the issue with the unemployment really quickly.
Okay.
But I think my final thoughts before this video, before I lose my train of thought, I think the appetite for sanctuary cities is waning. I think it's different this time around than it was in 2017. I think, considering the fact that Trump did run on immigration so hard, and people that showed like the economy and immigration were the two biggest issues, I think the appetite for it has kind of waned. And I don't think it's, I mean, in LA it hasn't waned, but like, I think in the rest of California, I don't think it's.
Which is not California, but didn't, now I forget who in New York was like, I'm not, like, they were like, I'm going to work with ICE. I'm not going to, if you're, maybe I read that all wrong. And maybe I dreamed this, but I could have sworn someone in New York was like, we're not going to do this. We're like, and it was very shocking.
Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York. I saw that headline. She said, I'm going to work with federal authorities on if there's issues and there's, criminals who are illegal immigrants, or as she said, undocumented citizens. So yeah, it was kind of shocking that Kathy Hochul, governor of New York, I think she saw that, New York went farther red too. So a lot of these states.
We talked about on a couple episodes ago about Newsom possibly running for president in 2028 and who we think would be his VP pick. Definitely not going to be her.
No.
Two different.
No.
Two very different opinions there.
Yeah. So I don't think they'll work together really well. All right. So this is from Fox 11 LA, and they're reporting on what it means, the LA City Council signing the ordinance or the law that made it a sanctuary city.
The ordinance means the city will not use its resources to enforce federal immigration. The ordinance means the city will not use its resources to enforce federal immigration laws. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez was in downtown LA for today's vote. She joins us live. Christina?
Yeah, in essence, to make it really simple, it's the difference between cooperating and impeding. LAPD cannot cooperate and hand over to ICE somebody who happens to be an undocumented immigrant that they arrested for some misdemeanor. But they cannot get in the way. They cannot impede if ICE or any federal agency performs a raid somewhere, for example. Take a look. Sanctuary! And sanctuary is what LA City Council members voted to legally enforce.
13 ayes.
Okay, that is passed.
Unanimously approving an ordinance that will officially prohibit the use of city resources to help federal agents enforce immigration law, which the city has been unofficially doing for years.
This law is about making Los Angeles, through law, a sanctuary city and ensuring that all Angelenos can interact with our government without the fear that Donald Trump's deportation squad is around the corner.
Da miedo? We're scared, say immigrants fearing deportation rates promised by President-elect Trump.
We understand their fear, especially when we've heard the announcements that we've heard from the president-elect.
It's literally only applied to people who are in jail for committing crimes.
LA's GOP communications director saying Trump's immigration policy, despite election claims of massive deportations, aims to deal with undocumented immigrants imprisoned for serious crimes.
Who sexually assault people, who murder people.
Many here saying they don't believe that.
I was in the classroom for 21 years. I taught students who were separated from their families during the first administration of Donald Trump, who came in with a lot of trauma, who were scared.
In South LA, a block away from Normandy Avenue Elementary School, ICE trucks parked with people just waiting to watch families go to school and decide which ones they should question or stop. You saw people in the parking lots, ICE agents in the parking lots of grocery stores.
So exactly what does the new ordinance mean?
It's very important that we don't mislead, that there's no force shield in the city of LA. ICE agents can perform and enforce federal immigration laws. That is a reality. We can't prohibit them from doing so. What we can do is we can make sure that we don't utilize our tax dollars, our local tax dollars. We want to make sure local police departments enforce the laws in the city of LA that are local laws in the city of Los Angeles, not federal immigration laws.
Especially because they don't want anyone, including someone who's here without papers, to not call police or the fire department because they're afraid that they're going to be deported. Because it is an emergency ordinance, it actually goes into effect immediately. I'm Christina Gonzalez, live in downtown Los Angeles. And back to you in the studio.
All right. So, watered down is what I would describe this ordinance as. Is I think they know that they, like we said, they can't impede or they can't prevent. They can't tell local law enforcement to stand in the way. Like that code section we said, 8 US. I'm going to keep saying it. So any of our listeners, if you get involved in a social media argument, which I don't recommend, don't get involved in social media arguments. They're never fun.
Yes, they
Although
are.
it is fun to kind of screw with people and there are ways to screw with people on social media and make them blow a gasket. But if you're on social media, 8 USC 1373, you can keep saying that you cannot impede or you cannot prevent local law enforcement and tell them you cannot work with federal. So what they're saying is that they can't use city resources, but they can't stand in the way of federal law enforcement. So if ICE comes in and says we're going to do a raid or we're going to do this, like LAPD can't do anything. They can't get in the way. So that's basically what they're saying. It seems really watered down because if federal agencies want to come in and do what they need to do, then they can come in and do what they need to do. LAPD can't stop them, but it does mean like they just won't use the assistance of LAPD, which in the end, it kind of seems like, I don't know if it's really that much of a sanctuary scenario because the federal law enforcement can still come in and do what they need to do. It's just LAPD can't help. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
It's just all weird to me. Like, I don't know if I fully understand it, but it does seem weird that you wouldn't want your local police working with the federal government on issues. Like, why would we be battling so hard? Because that's just how things don't work. I mean, we're always talking about we need to build bridges and work together. It's like this is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And watching that news clip, there's a lot of fear mongering going on there too, which that's a whole different topic. But
yeah, well, it's like the city council president was saying, oh, they post up in Target and they post up here and they're just grabbing people off the street.
There.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think that was the plan ever, was to just post up and start grabbing people off the street. Like, I think President Trump has said his plan is to go first off. The first wave is those who have been convicted, are sitting in jails, who don't have legal status, and deport them because they don't have legal status to be here. I think that's the first wave. But this idea of like, Donald Trump and his stormtroopers are going to roll up and Tom Homan's going to have all these tanks and vans coming up and just grabbing every brown person they see and just throw them like in their van and take them back to Mexico. Like, that's not what's going to happen at all. So it is completely fear mongering, but they're playing to their constituency. It's LA. They're playing to their voters. I thought this was interesting that I think we were going back and forth, and I was talking to my wife about this. This came out and they voted on this the same week that LA as a city wrote a letter to incoming President-elect Trump asking for $3 billion for help with the Olympics that's coming up in 2028. So they voted on this specific ordinance because they don't agree with Donald Trump and they fearmonger about Donald Trump and his stormtroopers coming to mass deport people. The same week, they sent out a letter begging Donald Trump to give them $3 billion for their transportation needs in 2028 for the Olympics. So it's funny. You have Gavin Newsom, who wants to Trump-proof California, and he's still probably going to ask for federal aid. You have LA, who's voting to be a sanctuary city, but turning around and saying, well, give us $3 billion for the Olympics. So you can't have it both ways. You know, you can't thumb your nose at President Trump and then Trump-proof California and write these sanctuary city laws and be the resistance and then turn around and go back and beg for money from the federal government. Like, in my mind, it doesn't work like that. But I think Trump will probably use that to his advantage in any sort of negotiation tactic moving forward. He might say, you want that $3 billion, maybe you kind of stop at the whole sanctuary city thing, you know? Hey, thanks for checking out the California Underground Podcast. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you subscribe, like, share, review, comment, all that stuff that helps with the algorithm, helps people find us more. And if you want to learn more, you can always listen to our full podcast at Apple, Spotify, Google, all those different places that you basically find podcasts. Or if you just want to keep watching clips, you can check out clips here, or you can subscribe to our channel right here, somewhere in here.